I wanted to go back to some of the early days of your career. The first thing I'm aware of you really doing from a professional perspective was probably playing on some demos and some things with Eddie Jobson. Is that correct?
Ah, you know your music trivia. Well done. Well done. Yes.
How did that come
about? Pretty much
about?
how everything kicked off. I started corresponding with Eddie with audition videos and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
While I was still living back at home in Cleveland, Ohio, playing bars, and Eddie and I developed this relationship, through the mail and phone, and I ended up coming up to New York to audition for him. And shortly thereafter, I then moved to New York when I was 22. So for the first few years, as you say, it was a very intense, concentrated project with Eddie, writing and doing demos and rehearsing a lot, and it really turned out to be everything that I hoped it would be, because it was a very intense, crash course in everything British progressive rock, which is exactly what I had hoped it would be.
Right. That had to have been tremendously educational.
It really was. And I had come from a series of bands in Cleveland that aspired to playing progressive rock. So time signatures and inverting measures and that's where I naturally was and naturally thought, left to my own devices as a musician, because of the music that I had absorbed when I was younger. So to work with Eddie then, and to really now go, full steam ahead in that world was really great. I just loved every minute of it. And then what had happened was, after a couple years of that, and I'm, living in New York City, and I'm working a day job, because the recording project with Eddie wasn't a paid position. It was a side project that he was doing, in essence.
Right.
And
right. He was focusing mostly on TV and film composition at that time. Is that right?
This is actually right before that. He had done some New Age records.
Oh, okay.
And then he was starting to dabble in advertising.
Gotcha.
So I started working with him during that period, where even though he was starting to work in advertising and make money there, he still was doing his progressive rock, and that's where I was involved.
Right. Okay. Now the next thing I'm aware of is the Tommy Shaw gig. Now, how does Eddie Jobson lead to Tommy Shaw?
Yeah, good.
It's an interesting segue. Right? You know what I mean?
Well, what had happened was, so I'm working the day gig in New York and rehearsing with Eddie on the weekends, and I'm watching my other drummer buddies going out on the road, landing all these great tours, and I'm starting to get very jealous. And
right.
So I say to Eddie, would you care if I try and land a tour and just go out and do something like that? He goes, no, I think it'd be a great experience. You should try and do that.
That's interesting, because that was a life that he had chosen to leave behind, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
But he does know the importance of getting that under your belt.
Sure.
I had never been on a tour in my life beyond, the bar bands in Cleveland pulling a small trailer behind a van.
Right.
And that touring was you go to Chicago and turn around and come back.
Right.
Which is fine as well, but it's not the real deal. So Eddie thought, yeah, that'd be a great experience for you. So I started networking and hanging out in the clubs in New York, and I heard that Tommy Shaw, who had just released a record in 1987 called Ambition, was going to put together a band to go on tour and support that record. So I called his management company and, did the song and dance on the phone with the guy who is going to decide who comes in to audition. Now,
this is like the pre-audition almost, right? I mean,
exactly, right.
Yeah.
And mind you, I really didn't have anything to say about myself except that I had played clubs in Cleveland, and for the past 2 years, I was doing a recording project with this British progressive rock musician, Eddie Jobson.
Right.
And when I said the guy's name, Eddie Jobson, the man on the phone said, "Oh." He goes, "I know Eddie." He goes, I love his music. Well, this happens to be a Juilliard graduate, so he was like a very schooled Eddie musician who would have followed the type of music that Eddie had done.
Oh,
so he goes,
yeah.
If you play with Eddie Jobson, yeah, sure, yeah, you can come in and audition for Tommy. And I thought, okay, well, that was easy.
So if it had fallen the other way, yeah. I mean,
yeah, right. It could have easily gone the other way. Oh, you're playing progressive rock in 13/8? Never mind, click.
Right.
So he said, sure, come on in, and I did in fact go in. There were probably, a good 20 other guys that auditioned for the drummer slot. And, we each had to play the first, 3 songs, I guess. We each had to play we each had to play the same songs, which were some of the first songs on that record. There we go. That connected that thought.
Oh, okay. Right.
And, and I got the tape a few days ahead of time, like everyone else did. And I remember one song in particular had a live drum track over a sequenced percussion loop.
Was that Weight of the World?
Oh wow! I'm impressed, Sterling. You're like pulling songs out of the sky. It actually wasn't Weight of the World. It was
okay.
Dangerous Game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Very impressed. Points to you for saying that.
Hey, I wrote a book about that.
I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and set up a couple little toys on the kit that I'm going to, in essence, teach myself how to play both parts at once.
Okay.
And I thought, maybe this will help. Maybe this will make me stand out. Maybe no one will go the extra mile and think of this. I was just trying to think, so what should I do?
Right.
So that's what I did. And went in there, and I was so amped up that I kind of trashed the kit at the audition. There was a tom-tom mounted on the kick drum. Its mount broke, and the drum fell off. One of the cymbal stands were sliding away from the kit. The wood block that I had brought in to play that percussive thing, I had shattered. It was literally like there were splinters all over the floor from the wood block. I was breaking sticks, and Tommy just had this big smile on his face on the other side of the room. And so I was thinking, well, maybe this is working. And in fact it did. So I landed the gig, and a few days later, I got a phone call at my day job from the same guy, by the way, who was the Juilliard graduate.
Oh, right. Yeah.
At the management office, and he said, you need to take a leave of absence from your day job because next week you're playing Madison Square Garden, and you guys are opening for Rush.
Oh my God! What's your reaction? Could you even process that at that time?
Well, after I came to,
right.
I realized, this is like baptism by fire, isn't it?
Right. I mean, you've got no choice but to just try and soldier forward and do the best you can do.
Yeah, because, guess what? Now you're playing in front of Neil Peart, so don't stink.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, it was an amazing experience. I did, in fact, take that leave of absence happily from my day job, and we ended up going on that entire tour, and we did 4 months of every big arena in the country opening for Rush, and it was amazing.
Well, that must have been fantastically, almost impossible to put into words for somebody's first tour.
Oh, it was insane. I mean, literally, just the desire to go out and get some road experience, I never thought it was going to be this.
Right. Had you been cognizant?
It was amazing. We went back to Cleveland, and we played the big arena there where I had gone to my first concert as a high school kid, and now my entire family is there, and it was magical.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Had you been cognizant of Tommy prior to that? I mean, was there any sort of, in meeting him and playing with him, was it like, oh my God, it's Tommy Shaw,
Absolutely.
Yeah? I
have a vivid memory of going to that exact arena I just mentioned and seeing Styx. I was probably 10th grade, 9th grade, having floor seats, working my way right up to the barricade, right in front of Tommy with my fist in the air, and told him that exact thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a trip.